How could you not be excited for a co-main event of the evening at 170 pounds? We have the former WEC and UFC interim welterweight champ Carlos the Natural Born Killer Condit taking on the Immortal Matt Brown. And what a career it's been for both these guys, but namely Matt Brown, a guy that came in on The Ultimate Fighter back when the seasons were in single digits, tough 7. He lost to Amir Sadala, who would go on to win that season, and he was 7-6 making his UFC debut. He's been around with the company for the longest time. That was back in 2008, just doing the damn thing. And for Carlos Condit, like I said, WEC champ, came into the UFC, loses split decision to Martin Kampmann, and then goes on a wild ride, beats Nick Diaz to win that interim belt. And Matt, I don't know if there's a UFC promo that gives me chills, just like the UFC 154 promo, when Carlos Condit fought our Canadian compatriot, Georges St-Pierre, but live, I mean, just getting ready for that one, it was absolutely amazing, and the fight really delivered there, too. And for Carlos Condit, you know, after that fight, career kind of hit the skids, but he was always fighting the highest level of competition. The one problem with Carlos Condit that we really did see throughout his career was the fact that his style really didn't change. It was just Carlos Condit from point A to point B. And I mean, really, a lot of people like to focus on Carlos Condit's 5-fight losing streak that he had before he won his last fight against Court McGee. But if you look at those since 2015, Robbie Lawler, then we're talking Damian Maia, Neil Magny, Cowboy Oliveira, and Michael Chiesa. And yes, maybe Cowboy Oliveira is a little bit of a chintzy call, but those are high-level guys. At one point, Cowboy was ranked in the division. For Matt Brown, he had the 3-fight losing streak against, you know, questionable characters. I know the fight against Jake Ellenberger, a little bit of a tough one. The fight against Donald Cerrone, an all-timer. And then he took some time off. And he comes back. And he fights Diego Sanchez. And he beats him. And he finishes him. And then he fights Ben Saunders. And he finishes Killa B. And then he takes some more time off. And is he retired? Isn't he retired? He fights Miguel Baez in his last time out. He had one flash of brilliance in that one, Matt. I'll let you take it over because at points, he looked good in that fight.
So Craig rolled his eyes forever when I told him that Matt Brown actually had success in this fight. And then we both rewatched the fight together, and even he will admit, Matt Brown had Baeza in a lot of trouble in that fight. And it is weird because neither guy's style has changed throughout their fight, or throughout their careers. Their durability has, and Carlos Condit, luckily, he's been able to keep his same level of durability. One of the greatest chins, I think, really in MMA history, much less just the UFC. Carlos Condit can basically get hit by a brick and not react to it whatsoever. He has eaten bombs from guys like Robbie Lawler, from guys like Neil Magny, caught him with a lot of clean shots, and this is a weird fighter to bring up. Stun Gun hit him with a lot of clean shots. Like, Carlos Condit has been in there and been cracked, and one thing that he's never been is TKO. The only TKO loss he's ever had was due to a knee injury from Tyron Woodley. It wasn't even due to being cracked or anything. Matt Brown, though, at the start of his career, really good durability. He's always had a weird susceptibility to body shots, but as his career has progressed, listen, you don't get nicknamed like the Immortal, and you don't get a reputation like Matt Brown's by being in boring fights. The issue is, when you're in exciting fights all the time, eventually that durability will start to chip away. And at this stage of his career, Matt Brown is a bit of a glass cannon. If he catches you clean, he can knock out anyone, and I am still quite confident in that. If you get in there in just a striking fight with Matt Brown, he has a lot of chances to hit you. He's got phenomenal elbows, and that's what most people know Matt Brown for. It's the clinch work, it's the elbows, the knee, just the overall Muay Thai of Matt Brown. But when he gets caught, he can get put down. And for Carlos Condit, we hadn't seen him really sit down on a lot of his shots, especially throughout that big losing streak. But when you look at the guys we lost to in the losing streak, first off, I thought he should have beat Robbie Lawler for the title at UFC 195. That was their best fight, well, one of the best fights ever, but also just fight of the year 2016. So I thought he should have won that fight. He loses to Damian Maia, a guy who only shoots for takedowns, something Matt Brown's not going to do, or probably not. Then he loses to Neil Magny in a fight where I actually thought Carlos Condit looked really good against Neil Magny. That's a weird performance. If you go back and look, there's a good argument for Condit winning 2 of those 3 rounds, but you lose to Neil Magny, no big deal. The Alex Oliveira fight, he gets hit with a crazy up kick, kind of gets dropped, if you will. That's one of the few times we have seen Condit quite hurt, and he basically falls directly into a guillotine. Again, a grappling heavy fight, though. And then Michael Chiesa, one of the better grapplers. There's a reason he is main eventing just, I guess, on Wednesday. Carlos Condit struggles with grapplers. Matt Brown is not going to grapple with Carlos Condit, and that's the best news in the world if you're Carlos Condit. The one performance, though, from Matt Brown's career that you can take confidence from, when he fought Wonderboy Thompson. In that fight, he's getting lit up on the feet. Yes, it's a young Wonderboy, but a young Wonderboy fights a little bit like Condit. I have no takedown defense, my ground game's not great, but on the feet I'm very, very dangerous. Matt Brown just went and took down Wonderboy over and over again. Really good ground and pound. He just sort of dominated that fight, made it a really ugly fight as it progressed. If Matt Brown wants wants to beat Carlos Condit, that's really the blueprint. You go in there, shoot a lot of takedowns, work some of the clinch. I know Condit's strong in the clinch, but I would also argue that Matt Brown is one of his strongest positions. And if you can make this an ugly fight, get him up against the cage, start landing those elbows, go for takedowns, I think Matt Brown can have a lot of success. The issue is he's going to have to close the distance at some point. And Carlos Condit, even at this stage in his career, we saw it in the Court McGee fight. Court McGee's a pretty good wrestler, and Carlos Condit put him down bad in that fight.
How many people were sitting there watching that fight, screaming at their televisions? Because I might not have been screaming at my television, but I saw so many people screaming into their phones on Twitter, "Hey, Court McGee, take the guy down." But Court McGee couldn't, because every time he went to close distance, Carlos Condit would start hitting him
Put
to
them
where
tangs on him.
yeah, he had to start backing up, and it didn't work for him, and Carlos Condit was able to just kind of run away with the fight. For Matt Brown, yeah, it's one of those ones where you look at the losses. Jake Ellenberger with the body kick. You look at Donald Cerrone with the head kick.
Great fight.
Then he wins 2 fights. Diego Sanchez, mixed bag. I mean, the Mickey Galls of the world, like, it's hard to tell.
The highlight's nice.
He beat Michel Pereira, so there's that. But again, yes, the highlight for Matt Brown, disgusting knockout. The win over Ben Saunders, Killer Bee's been over the hill for a while. I know after he beat Jake Ellenberger, Ben Saunders backstage said he wanted to build his way up to a title, but it just didn't happen. But he was good in Bellator way back when. And then for Matt Brown, the fight against Miguel Baeza, again, he knocks him down to the point where Baeza, and again, on UFC stats, might not count as a knockdown, whatever, but Baeza basically does like the 4 fingers, propping himself back up, pops up, and then eventually finishes Matt Brown. So you might have laughed or snickered at the start when I said, well, he had flashes. He did have flashes, and then he got knocked out. For Carlos Condit, again, you look at the Maia fight, gets submitted, loses the decision to Magny, loses by submission to Oliveira, loses by submission to Chiesa, beats Court McGee. Matt Brown's, I'm not saying his wrestling's bad, I'm not saying his grappling's bad, but is it good enough to beat Carlos Condit? I don't know yet. I guess I really have to see that next Saturday. So we'll find that out if he's able to initiate the grappling. But if we look at the total votes on Tapology, Matt, 836 total votes, 83% of Carlos Condit to win, 71% have him to win by decision. For Matt Brown, the 17% that have him to win, 39% are by knockout, 51% by decision. If we have a look at the odds, Carlos Condit is a decent-sized favorite. Minus 164 at this point on best fight odds. Open to pick 'em fight at minus 110. For Matt Brown, he's now at a plus 136. So, Condit's the favorite. They opened even. Condit is the favorite. I expect that line to continue to grow for Condit into next weekend. And ultimately, I'm going with the guy that is not celebrating a birthday during fight week. I'm going with the man who is not 40 like Mike Gundy. I'm going with Carlos Condit in this fight. Again, we've seen maybe, the volume isn't there like it used to be from Carlos Condit. Maybe the power isn't there like it used to be from Carlos Condit. But the things that got him to the dance are the same things that he's doing now. His takedown defense is absolutely piss poor. It has been his whole career. I don't expect this to be the fight that he had like against Dan Hardy when both guys land, like Brennan and why can't I think of John C. Reilly's character from Step Brothers? For some reason, I just can't. But in that golf club baseball bat sequence that they had in that fight, I don't expect that to happen in this one. But ultimately, I see Carlos Condit getting the win here.
So the top comment under the Tapology predictions really sums up how I feel about this fight.
Give credit where credit's due.
TKO won by Golfy77. Carlos Condit, TKO round 2. Hopefully neither gets hurt badly. It's really how I feel about this fight. 2 of my favorite fighters really of all time, and I know we're not seeing the best versions of these guys in the cage together.
Dale was John C. Reilly's character.
But luckily, we are going to eventually get this fight. I'm really excited. I agree. I think Carlos Condit's going to be able to get done. Just really the overall durability of him, I like a lot more than I do of Matt Brown. Matt Brown is going to have opportunities in this fight, and it will be interesting to see how much, or really if he does decide to grapple at all. But I'm going to go with Carlos Condit, probably by TKO.
Matt, really looking forward to this fight. We both have the natural-born killer to get the win in this one. And that means that there's only one fight left to look over, to preview, to get excited about. We have Calvin Kattar taking on Max Holloway. I mean, Calvin Kattar in his second main event so far. And the last fight was main event against Dan Ige. For Max Holloway, his 8th straight main event. It's going to be absolutely insane. Really looking forward to it. So keep it locked in with Fight Night Picks, man, as we always say. Let's get into it.